In today's video, some tips on your journey from going to this to shredded like this and how you can make it faster. This is Paul Revello from ProPhysique.com, and today we're going to talk about making fat loss faster. What are some of the tips? What are some of the pros? And what are some of the cons? Now, the question I got was from right here on my Instagram direct message. So first things first, please go to my Instagram direct message, send me your messages, and I can answer your questions directly, or I can make them into video format when I feel like the topic deserves it. In today's video, I'm a woman. I eat about 1,200 to 1,400 calories a day. I've lost about 4.5 kilos in 2 months. It's slow but steady. Can you give me some tips on how to do it faster? I'm also going on a 3-day trip with my boyfriend, and I eat a lot of high-calorie foods. I will try to keep myself from eating it. First things first, whenever you guys go on trips, walk more, be active, go swimming, do things that you don't normally do. That will offset all the food you eat. But let's address the question. It's about that time of year, guys. We started our transformation challenge. You can still jump in if you want the experience. But this is the time of year when people are starting to think about it. And you're probably pretty smart if you're thinking about it now to be lean in time for, say, summer, right? Because fat loss has a rate limiting process. You can't lose all the body fat in 1 week, just like you didn't put it all on in 1 week or 1 month. So we're going to talk about how to speed up fat loss. What are some of the limitations, and what are some things you can do to actually expedite the process? So first things first, if you don't really even understand how many calories you're taking in or how much activity you're doing, start taking notes, okay? You can download a free app. There are many out there. Fat Secret or Nutrition IX are my two favorite apps for tracking calories. And you don't have to have an expectation, right? You don't have to know what your calories are going in. Just start tracking. Everything you eat and everything you drink has calories. That's energy that you take in that has to do something, okay? If you're done growing taller like me, I'm 48 years old, I'm not growing taller anymore. Well, guess what happens? If you overconsume calories, it gets stored as fat. So, are you taking in more calories than you need? That's step one. The other step you can start paying attention to is your daily activity, okay? So, as we all know, exercise burns calories, but it turns out the calories we burn from exercise is just a very small fraction of the calories that we burn in a given day. The far majority of the calories that we burn is through our non-exercise activities, or NEAT. And what tends to happen when people start restricting calories and increasing their exercise, they reduce their NEAT. And so what do we have? We just have a compensation effect. So I'm going to give you some tricks that I've used over the years to make sure that we are going to lose fat faster. The first one is probably going to surprise you, okay? The first one is, I don't want you to focus on restricting calories right away, okay? I want you to figure out what your maintenance calories are at, and I want you to hit that for a week, because what typically happens when people start a fat loss phase is they get way too aggressive with calories right off the bat. So I'd like to have an actual diet recall for at least 3 to 4 days, if not a week, before we worry about restricting that number. Now, what you'll often find is that some days you're at 3,000 calories, some days you're at 2,000 calories. But what's going to happen over about the course of a week is you're going to get an average of, say, 2,250 calories, and you're going to notice your weight is pretty stable. Pretty safe bet that that is our caloric maintenance, right? Now, if you don't really know where to start and you want to start right away, I have a free calculator. You can plug in some information. It's going to give you a very accurate representation, not as accurate as a diet recall of you tracking. Now, tracking has two things to it, okay? First, we get the data. We get to use the data and go, hey, I understand how many calories I'm taking in, but there's a second part to that. You're learning a skill. You're getting over the fear of understanding your nutrition. I think a lot of us, myself included, when I first thought about losing body fat, I thought, I don't want to track my diet. That sounds like a lot of work. It sounds like a lot of work, but it's actually so damn easy. It's almost impossibly easy. And once you start doing it, you realize, why did I waste my time all these years not really knowing what I'm taking in? Now, just like anything else, tracking can become a disordered behavior. So you don't want to become too kind of stuck in your ways of tracking, but having an accountability, having the ability to understand, okay, why am I not losing body fat? If you're not tracking, then you have nothing to complain about, okay? If you are, say, fasting, if you are, say, on a carnivore diet or a keto diet or a vegan diet or some type of diet that you feel is superior and should get you results, but you're not seeing progress and you're not tracking your calories, I can tell you that no matter the name of the diet, they all work by the same method, caloric deficit. That's the only thing that works for fat loss. There's 2 phases to this. So now that we've got your maintenance set up, I'm going to give you my idea on where to start. But first things first, what's your activity like? Okay. Are you a very busy person? What I find is there's 2 schools here. There's people that are very sedentary and they don't tend to eat too much. And then there's people that are non-sedentary. They're on their feet all day. I'm talking about when I was working at a car wash, when I worked at like a restaurant, when I was playing sports all day. If you're on your feet all day, you tend to consume to match that demand, and that can go unchecked. Even if you have less activity, you'll have periods where you still consume like you have a high activity, right? So what you need to pay attention to now is, what is your activity like? Now, if you're someone that is very sedentary, I did a video last year where I simply walked 60 minutes every day. Why? Because I'm a busy guy. I wake up in the morning, and I did it at 5:30 a.m. and I got up and I got with my kids to go to school and I got my work done. And I lost about 10 to 11 pounds that month. And a lot of people scoffed at that idea, saying you can't lose that much body fat simply by walking. Well, if you're sedentary and you're paying attention to your nutrition, you absolutely can. So step one is diet recall. Figure out how many calories you're taking in. Step two is we're going to figure out, what is your daily activity like? Now we're going to jump into action. What are my tips and tricks for making fat loss a little bit faster? You can be pretty aggressive with fat loss if you have one thing, a deadline. Now, you mentioned in your question here that you had a deadline. So that's going to be a big part of this. So you asked in the question, how do you get this done quickly? The deadline really helps. This is why we do our transformation challenge. This is why I do bodybuilding competitions, because deadlines help us sharpen our focus. You can't move the day to your vacation. So every decision you make on a daily basis is going to be better. So that's the first tip. The first trick in losing fat faster: have a specific goal, have a deadline. Now, if you don't want to be a weirdo who gets on stage with a fake tan and does a bodybuilding show like me, maybe you have a vacation at a resort planned. Maybe you have, I've even coached people for music festivals and events. I've coached people for photo shoots, family reunions, high school reunions, maybe just something that's completely arbitrary to everybody in the world, but to you it has meaning. That's all that matters. No one's judging you. Just pick something that gives yourself a deadline. This is why we do our 90-day transformation challenge, because I know over the course of those 12 weeks, every decision is going to matter to the person that we're giving away $25,000 to, right? That cash prize is going to drive a lot of people. Some people are going to do it just because of the deadline and they love the idea of the before and after pictures, but you see the goal here. It's set that deadline. Now that we have our deadline set, what are some tips and tricks that we can do with our nutrition and our training? First things first, everyone wants to jump into a 500 calorie deficit. If you do that only based on your calories, let's say you're at 2250 calories for maintenance and you drop all the way down to 1750, where does that leave you your next drop? It leaves you at 1250 calories. That is awfully low. So what I suggest instead is starting off with a moderate approach to calorie restriction, 200 to 300, but an aggressive approach to daily activity. Bump those steps way up, double, triple, quadruple them. If you're only getting 3,000 or 4,000 steps a day, bump that up. Those are rookie numbers. Get it up to 10, 15, 20,000 steps a day. Now I realize this can be very time consuming. So what are the other tricks that I have? For me, I bought a treadmill for my house. Yeah, costs a lot of money, but I've had it for 6 years now, and it's allowed me to stay a lot leaner and get a lot of my time back because I have it at my house. If you don't want to have a treadmill at your house, maybe you get a Peloton bike, maybe you get something, maybe you just walk around your neighborhood if you have that ability. But the idea here is that we remove the layer of exercise that requires you to leave the house or have an excuse. I have no excuse. I keep my shoes and my socks right by my treadmill. I wake up every morning like a zombie, come up the stairs, and I'm doing cardio before I can even think. That removed that excuse for me that I had to drive to the gym or I had to go somewhere. That is my number 2 trick, okay? First is the deadline. Number 2, remove barriers to entry for you to get movement in. Movement is going to be the key. Yes, I'm a big believer in understanding your nutrition, but I believe that movement is far more important for us because it creates change. What do I mean by that? When I get up every day and do my cardio while I'm trying to lose fat, do you think I want to waste that hour the rest of the day by eating like an asshole? No. I put myself in a position to be successful first thing in the morning, and then the rest of the day, I'm just following up. I'm just following that up, and I'm making sure I'm staying on my plan. Now, sometimes when I want to be very quick with fat loss, I'll give you my number 3 trick. It's to do a second cardio session in the evening after my last meal. I feel there's a real benefit to moving multiple times throughout the day. It does show that your digestive enzymes kind of pick up when you exercise. So that digestive help is going to help your metabolism. It's going to help the food burn through. So you're going to have 2 times per day that you're moving. Right now, I'm a bodybuilder, so I'm going to go to the gym a couple days a week too to try to put on muscle. But if your goal is really just fat loss, you can just focus on maintaining muscle. And that's been shown to be done through 1 to 3 exercises per week, right? So you don't have to spend a ton of time in the gym trying to put on muscle. If you're just trying to lose body fat, just do enough to maintain so that you're not losing it. But the real value to movement is that it creates change. I'm not suggesting that cardio is the only thing you need to do to lose body fat. Of course, diet is a part of that. But I believe that by doing cardio, it improves the diet. It improves the adherence. It makes you want to do better. So my final tip, one thing I failed to mention in the video is that I actually helped create a product right here. It's got my name on it. It's called Core Burn. There's some amazing flavors, but the idea behind this product was I wanted to help my athletes lose fat faster. So it's got some things to help you with appetite suppression like Saf Serene. It's also got some things to help you reduce your cortisol or your stress, KSM 66. It's also got some things to help you with some energy, some thermogenics to help you burn more calories. So I'm on my treadmill here because I like to take this before I do a cardio session to help. I find that I'm less hungry after, I'm calmer after, and I'm burning more calories throughout the day. So if you're looking for a thermogenic product, check out Core Burn. I'll put a link below with my discount code. But make sure you're taking care of your nutrition, your cardio, and getting good sleep. Those are really the keys to making sure you're losing body fat. Now back to the video. Is really focus on protein. I know it's probably the most overstated fact in the fitness space, but protein just has so many valuable benefits. It's first of all the building block of all the cells in our body, not just our muscles. So it helps us regenerate all the cells. But the value that it has for us bodybuilders is that it really keeps you full, okay? By having protein, and I'm going to tell you your protein number in just a second, having it in every single meal, it's going to keep you fuller, and it's going to keep your focus on that nutrition around a food source that is going to help us avoid trigger foods, okay? Because we're going to be fuller throughout the day. So what should your protein be? The simple answer is just set your protein to 1 gram per pound of your goal weight. If you're 250 pounds and your goal is to be 200 pounds, anywhere between 200 and 250 grams of protein is plenty. It's actually overkill for the benefit of anabolism or adding muscle, but it's not overkill for the benefit of having some satiety, feeling full throughout the day, and helping us stick to our diet, okay? I'm not a believer in someone that should do 0 carbs or super low fats. Those have their place in our nutrition, okay? Carbohydrates are very valuable for helping us move more, helping us think better, and helping us process the body's needs through exercise much better. In fact, my favorite phrase is that fat burns in a carbohydrate flame. So by taking in carbohydrates in the right amounts, you can actually help facilitate fat loss. Likewise, taking in fat, although it can be stored as fat very easily, it also is the start of the cascade of hormones in the human body. So don't do anything like 0 carbs, 0 fat, or anything ultra risky, because then you're going to run into problems once you reach your goal. So speeding up the process of fat loss comes down to these 3 things. You need to understand where your calories and your activity are. You need to have a very, very strict deadline, okay? And from there, you need to put a plan into action. You need to move more. You need to eat your protein. And the goal for most people should be about 1% of your body weight per week for fat loss. The more body fat you have to lose, the higher that can be. But don't limit yourself in terms of activity, okay? I'd be much more open to an athlete that I coach that wants to move more throughout the day than someone that wants to restrict calories to dangerously low numbers. What's a dangerously low number for me as a coach? What I've seen, anytime your calories get below or near 10 times your body weight in pounds. So if you're a 120 pound person and you're at 1,200 calories, it's time to start paying attention to your needs. Okay, so time to pay attention to your recovery, because that's when I start to worry about binges, about rebounding, about metabolic issues, and even health issues related to nutrition being so low. However, I'd be fine with somebody going, you know what, coach, I'm at 15,000 steps. I'm going to go to 20,000 steps and keep my calories the same. So really, in my mind, when I want to get shredded, when I want to look like I showed you in the beginning of this video, I do not limit my activity. I'm a big believer in low intensity, steady state cardio. Guess what? It burns as fuel preferentially. Fat cells. That's it. All right, guys, that's the video for today. Hopefully this helped address the question, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.